got to be very careful of that. And it looks like pretty much everybody is done with the session. Apart from Kevin Hamann, who continues on, Patricio Torrigiani and Andrew Elsom carrying on further behind as well. But we'll see how many of those trouble the top times. Torrigiani through the final corner right now, gets as close to the wall as possible. Will also invalidate your lap time if you get too close there, and he goes over the line now. Torrigiani, will that be any improvement at all? Doesn't look like it, unfortunately, for him. So stays in 26th of the 30 drivers, by the way, who are entered. Ron Evans only just making his way out to the circuit right now, but I've seen a couple of black flags come up for him, so I'm not sure quite what he's been getting those for.
Maybe he did not exit pit lane correctly. That's one that can be easy to do if you don't pay attention. As you mentioned, Hamann is the last driver able to set a time. We've got Andrew Elsom out there, but he's already taken his 3 laps. So I'm going to keep my eyes over on the 247. He does improve to a 28.863, but he stays in 4th spot. That's not enough to jump him ahead of Jeppesen. And from this point, Elsom is essentially out there just getting some practice laps in, probably trying to get used to the heat out on the track, as we've been talking about. That is a big talking point with high temperatures on these 2 weeks of racing. And when the sun is relentless, your sunscreen should be too. Mo Handsome new sport sunscreen spray is now available. It's SPF 30, broad spectrum, and reef safe. Plus, this spray is water resistant for up to 80 minutes. It's even TSA travel sized and made in the USA. This protecting spray is perfect for 120-degree Indy track temperatures. And to prove it, tonight's driver of the hottest lap and qualifying will receive a 2-pack of Mo Handsome Sports Sunscreen Spray. Learn more at their Instagram at Mo Handsome Skin and at their website, mohandsome.com/sunscreen. So right now it's looking like Jeremy Main's going to be the one coming home with a little bit of suntan lotion in his pocket after this, because nobody is able to beat him at this point.
Doesn't look like it. Everybody is down onto pit lane, and the time now elapses as well. So good to get a different pole sitter this time round, and a different situation in the race. Really, Jeremy Main didn't partake in last round at Watkins Glen. In the first round of the championship at Spa, he was inside the top 10 in 8th place. So we'll see how he goes tonight. But that's a great start for him. And he's alongside and around a lot of very good drivers indeed. Because, you know, I reckon the top 5 or 6, to be honest, are on very similar speeds. You saw William Wolf's late lap time there. It would have got him to 3rd if it had counted. So that's clear. I know that you've got to make it count to actually do the lap times, I understand. But, you know, it shows that the pace is in there. And he'll be one of those 5 or 6 battling for the win. It's going to be a lot more open than what we've seen the first 2 rounds, which is definitely a good thing.
We always love having it just a little bit mixed up out there, keep us on our toes as well, and maybe get some unexpected results. So I think this is setting up to be a pretty nice one, like you said, with Wolf being maybe slightly out of position at the start of the race. But the question is, can he make good on that pace? Especially with how tough it is to pass. But let's see what the pace of Jeremy Main looks like with his qualifying lap. This is for pole here, Ewan.
Absolutely, and this is the big stop down at turn number 1 where the overtaking may well happen. That's how close they have to get to the wall, by the way. Just kissing this curb on the right-hand side, and in fact just maybe slightly swiping it before slightly uphill through turn 2. Then one of the most difficult corners on the circuit, actually, through 3 and 4. Braking and turning at the right time. Brave from Main to get so wide there onto the curb and really open it out. But you see the benefits on the exit. Be absolutely flat out through here. Don't worry about absolutely clobbering those curbs. It's pretty much the only ones you do properly go over around here at Indianapolis. You're just looking to kiss the others, like this one down at the braking zone of turn 7. There it is. Just miss it. There you go. Through that sort of very sharp apex, and then through the faster chicane, as it is these days, not hairpins anymore. And now opening this corner up as well. Late apex important here for this run on the way. Gets a back flagging warm up. And the run towards turn 11, which is flat out. And then another tricky braking zone as you're coming up into the banking slightly. You're still turning a bit, getting on the brakes. Very difficult, but again, just grabbing that rather sharp apex just as well as you can. Now keeping it to the left as he comes around the left-hander. just to open out this right-hander as much as possible. And left a bit on the table there, but it's a short run to the line in qualifying. You want to be a little bit further over to the left in the race, because those behind you will get a better run and they will slipstream past you on that long run down towards turn 1. Very clean lap, I've got to say. Not too much drama within it, which is what you need, and that's why that was the fastest lap of the session.
And among the 29 cars that did manage to set a qualifying time, we, I believe, have about 2.5 seconds separating all of them. So it's going to be pretty tight, as we tend to often see here in this series. This is just the warm-up from this stage, so these laps won't count for anything for our drivers. It's just the final practice before they get out onto the track itself. That gives us a chance, though, to go through our starting order, and Jeremy Main is going to be on the pole, as we've been saying. Lee Binkley will start next to him. Josh Jeppesen pushed down to third, as Kevin Hammond is only good enough for fourth today. Joel Bergeron in P5 has William Wolf, surprisingly, starting in sixth next to him. John Kalbach is going to be starting seventh. Brian Stern, P8, as Casey McDonald, good enough for ninth, has Andrew Long rounding out the top 10. From there, it's Jeff Williams on the inside of row 6 and Randy Lervold on the outside of that row. Row 7 sees Sheldon Zaharachuk in 13th. You've got Christopher Costas flanking him. Ken Tubman on the inside of the next row, with the number 55 of Nick Francis starting in 16th. Marco Souza starts in 17th day, followed by Daniel Corbett in 18th. Then it is Alan Hales 19th, followed by George Poulos in 20th. George going to be hoping for a slightly better race today than his first two, I imagine, as Donald Manning starts 21st. Then it's Jeff Gardner 22nd, and Paul Cavanaugh in 23rd. Ward Preston then in the 24th position. Quarter century mark will go to Ankerberg Zahn, as Patrizio Torrigiani did not have that last lap count, so he stays 26th. Peter Yerxa is 27th, and Mike Sachs 28th. Last two, Andrew Elsom set a time at 29th, but Ron Evans did not. The only driver failing to set a lap there in 30th. And that is our field here today, getting ready to start shortly. And very curious what this race is going to look like for Ron Evans, since we didn't really get a good sense of where he should line up.
No, absolutely. It's going to be a long run back through the field. Unfortunately for Evans, so far this season has been pretty difficult. No finishes inside the top 20, despite being here for both rounds so far. That could make life a little bit difficult this afternoon, but we'll just have to wait and see for those at the back of the field. The first port of call, of course, is just getting through the opening lap without any problems, and you know, we didn't see too many last week, but you know, it will pick you up places if indeed you can stay out of trouble. And that's the big talking point of the day. 46 degrees Celsius down on the track temperature. That's 114 Fahrenheit, and it's still 11 o'clock in the morning. It is a very, very warm day, and that is the big talking point for all these drivers.
Yeah, and them pounding away, it's certainly going to increase as the race goes on, continue to just get hotter as the tires start to lose their grip and see the best of them go away quite early. Now, we will not likely see anybody change tires in the one scheduled pit stop, because they do not have enough fuel to get to the end on this one, as there's just not enough time with the amount of fuel that they put in for it to make sense, and you don't gain enough back. So it will be about tire management over these 60 minutes. You talked about surviving that first lap. Well, here at Indianapolis, it's become very much a known factor, Ewan, that turn 1, lap 1 is always a bit dangerous.
Yeah, exactly. And as I say, first port of call is to just get through that cleanly. I'd worry less actually about aiming to make up places. You know, just stay out of trouble and you will pick up places, as long as you're not too tentative. There is a stage where you become too tentative and then you're more likely to get crashed into. But you just drive normally. Don't think about winning the race at the first corner. Just, you know, be safe through the first couple of turns, then you'll be absolutely fine. You will gain some places as a result as well. But that's not always a given around here at Indianapolis. It is always difficult to begin this race cleanly. Let's hope that they do, though, as Jeremy Main takes control of the field.
Indeed. Now, he cannot go until he's given the signal from the stand. So he has to wait here, even though he can control the pace of the field behind him. And interesting that Binkley is kind of holding back a bit as there is the green flag. We are on our way down to turn one here at Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Josh Jefferson going to get overtaken around the outside by Hammond potentially as they come up towards the braking zone. But what's it going to look like is we're a little bit 3 wide towards the back, almost 4 and 5 wide. Someone going into the wall. That may have been Poulos there for a brief moment, as I think Kevin is going to be able to take this spot away from Jefferson.
Yeah, so Kevin Hammond moves up to third, although Jefferson's not going to give it up just yet through turn 4. Still on the inside, and he'll get single file in time for the chicane, which you pretty much have to do. In any cars really, it's a very, very fast and narrow chicane. William Wolf stays into 6th place. John Calbeck put the pressure on him, but couldn't quite get past as they all come down towards turn 7.
That was quite a cut on the inside, I think, by Lee Binkley there. We saw him at the front coming through the chicane. Surprised he didn't get a slowdown penalty here in the mid-pack. Still drivers that are jockeying for track position as they have not been able to get completely single file. Although it does look like coming out of 10 and into 11, we are finally seeing drivers get themselves sorted out. Another potential place to pass here is into 12, but you got to be close.
Yeah, very close into here, although on that one it's a little bit different. He'll get single file by this point, though, on the lap, certainly the leaders do anyway. As you can see, Jeremy Lane already out to a second's worth of a lead. Very impressive indeed. Not a single gap, by the way, more than a second the whole way through. A very good start from everybody. I say the whole way through from Jeremy Lane. Not a single gap over a second just as they were coming into the final sector there. Very, very impressive indeed as William Wolf has to look down the side of Bergeron here in towards turn 1. He's late on the brakes. It's a big braking zone, but he's not able to do it there.
He backed out of that one. I think he realized he was not far enough alongside, so hasn't made up any spots from where he qualified. In fact, top 7 are all still where they started this race, although we saw Jefferson and Hammond obviously getting very close to potentially swapping spots at times. The back of the field, my time in scoring is showing is that maybe there was a problem for Elsom and Torrigiani, but both are now continuing.
Doesn't seem that, yeah, there has been a couple of problems for them, but doesn't seem that it's been too bad further back the field. Here's Torrigiani. No obvious signs of damage, so wonder what happened there. We'll see in a moment, but it's very clean all round. Got to say, hats off to all of these guys for doing that. It was pretty good last week, to be honest, with the way that we all got started and towards turn number 1 as well. Very, very clean across the board, which is good. This is what happened to Torrigiani there. The first incident of the day, I think we can call this. Look down the inside. Very ambitious. He locks up, he realises his error, and he goes straight into the side of Andrew Elsom into turn 1.
Elsom definitely a bit of an innocent victim on that one. Glad to see both cars able to keep going. William Wolf on board with our current championship leader, still chasing behind Bergeron. And again, he looks very strong in the brakes, maybe too strong this time as he's going to miss the apex. But he'll need to hold on to that, knowing that Joel might be just a little bit lighter on the binders compared to him down in turn 1. But we're still very early days in this race as we jump back now to Calbeck fighting with McDonald.
Yeah, so this is the split in the field. I said it'd be a front 6 for the front. I didn't think it'd be quite so obvious after just 4 minutes, but there you go. They're already a few seconds ahead of the field as this race starts to spread apart on lap 3. Here comes McDonald. It's a little bit down the inside, but no way through. And Calbeck certainly has been the cork in the bottle early on here. Casey McDonald's been putting the pressure on, but unable to get through in these first 5 minutes or so.
Looks like we already see a black flag for Torrigiani for the contact that we saw that replay on. Brian Stern also back there in this group. Andrew Long, Christopher Costas. So another little secondary train forming behind our train of 6 up there at the front of the field. It's a little wide from John. Casey's going to try and maybe set him up here on the main straight. Let's see who gets the better run.
It's all important through turn 14 here. Just squeezing on the power through the right-hander. Very, very difficult to do indeed, but onto the front straight they come, and Calbeck has not got very much of a gap over McDonald, it must be said. He'll be getting a big slipstream in towards turn 1, but you've got to be very close, even despite the long braking zone down here. Oh no, it's Stern who's got it wrong. Stern goes across the inside of the circuit as we see George Poulos' spin through turn 12. That was all wrong from Brian Stern. He's going to have to give up that time now.
Yeah, I think he is currently in the process of handing that back and goes behind Long and Costas on top of things. So definitely lost a couple of positions. I'm just glad that he was able to find an escape road, kind of cutting across the inside of turn 1 and then through turn 2 as well. There's a little bit of a look from Brian on Christopher Costas behind them. Battle between Williams and Lervold as well, but Williams will hold on to 12th on the 5:17. There's a look at Stern somehow getting away with going way too deep.
And drops outside the top 10 as a result. Mike Sachs also jumps across the inside of turn 7 there, and he'll have to give that up as well. He's now outside of the top 20. Ken Tubman and Donald Manning are right behind him at the moment as well through the final part of that. This is what happened to Mike Sachs. And oh, sorry, he spun to the inside rather. He has outbroken himself, but not in the way that I thought. By cutting the inside, but no, he went straight into the side of Daniel Corbett and went into a spin.
Indeed, and is suffered for that one. Wonder if he'll still get a penalty on top of that for making that contact, but gladly Corbett did not lose out time. He just carried on and continues in 15th. Just saw, I think, Kovac lose a position, potentially Andrew Long, as we're checking just ahead of them. This is Kevin Hammond still trying to fight his way forward to Josh Jepson. Have not seen the top 6 change positions at all here, and we are currently 5 laps into it. It does look like track position is at a premium.
Yeah, how much is William Wolf now going to be absolutely ruining that mistake in qualifying that clearly his front? This is what it looked like to our tiny screen as John Cowbeck's had trouble here to drop out the front of this group. That's all that front group needs here, by the way. It's just something to shake it up a little bit. At the moment, for that top 6, they've had absolutely none of that, and it's been very orderly. But as soon as something like this happens, see what happens to John Cowbeck here. Watch this group for 7th place on back now start to get a little bit more lively, and things start to change a little bit more with a change of the driver at the front. Casey McDonald's already got away, so I wonder whether he's had anything to do with that. But all it needs is one moment, and then all of a sudden it will become a much more dynamic group.
And I don't think, I was going to say, I didn't think McDonald was at fault for that one. It looked like Andrew Long, who just went a little far into the braking zone, and unfortunately John had no place to go on that one. So it looks like, do we have a problem? Is Joel Bergeron? Somebody's dropped out of the top 6 here.
Yeah, but Bergeron, you're right, it's dropped out, and as I said, all it takes is one moment, and Hamann now is attacking Jefferson. Wolf is seeing this as his chance. Oh, it's 3 wide, I think. Goodness me, they're all late on the brakes. And where did Wolf go? Not sure. I think he backed out of it completely. Hamann, though, did go through with it, and Joshua Jefferson loses his top 3 place.
Kevin with a very aggressive but well-executed move to get onto the podium. And this is what happened to Joel. Oh, didn't look like there was contact, but the car goes around.
Yeah, there may have been, though. I couldn't really see. Let's say, though, Hamann was alongside Jefferson already. So that moment, that little spark had already happened. And now suddenly we've got changes within the top 6. Although some of them, of course, was dropping down the field. It's less ideal. Hamann, Jefferson and Wolf down the straight on the way towards turn 1 again. Hamann defending wildly to the inside. I think Wolf and Jefferson are going to leave him be for the moment. See if they can maybe catch back up to Binkley again, because they'll be not too pleased that second place has got away so easily.
Yeah, it's already up to 2 seconds ahead. Binkley would probably like to drop that slipstream that Hammond is trying so hard to get out of himself. Another problem for George Poulos. His season has been going completely awry since Spa, unfortunately. The 192 is currently down in 29th at the moment. And I just saw that Mike Sachs also has had a problem, as William Wolf is going to go for it again on Josh Jefferson. This time he gets it done, and that's going to be P4. So 2 spots up from where he started.
Jefferson seems to be in a generous mood at the moment, or indeed he's just not got the speed, because he's already dropped a few tenths of a second away from Wolf, and he let him have that place very, very easily indeed. It's only the first 10 minutes of the race, but these two should be fighting for a championship later on this season. Even though it's Jefferson's first season in the sport class, he's taken to it very, very well indeed, but he let Wolf through there very easily. This is Lervold, Williams, Francis, Corbett, all down in towards turn 12 as well. Again, difficult to make passes here, although Nick Francis is trying the most. Trying to look down the inside. Daniel Corbett will try and do the same as well in the red and white. So these groups are still appearing, and that's because it is a little bit difficult to overtake.
The ATM line is getting awful long behind Randy Lervold, and they were very close coming through 13 and 14. As somebody ducks out to the inside, that's going to be Daniel Corbett on Nick Francis, who is not giving it up yet, so Corbett gets back into line for the time being. One little mistake is definitely going to open this up. Everybody has to be on their toes in this group.
Yeah, absolutely. It's the thing with this circuit, and we'll see it again in 2 weeks' time. For goodness sake, I'm sure that you've got to be very, very sort of safe with your attempts to pass almost, because if you get one through and indeed get attacked by one, it could become multiple. Here comes Nick Francis on the back of Jeff Williams, who is ensuring that it is only one. And Francis goes for a spin anyway. He'll keep the place, and Corbett will go through. Williams was trying to let him through there so that he didn't sort of get knocked out of line and then let a load through, but actually it's Francis who goes for half spin, and Daniel Corbett benefits to gain a place anyway.
Instead of gaining one, he loses one, so Nick down to 14th position. John Kalbeck in behind him, who we know was a little bit farther up than this, is going to be in a hurry to try and get by this group if he can. There was a look from Francis to try and take it back, but Daniel will shut the door firmly at turn 13. And back onto the main straight they go. This time, doesn't look like anybody's close enough in the slipstream to see some changes into turn 1 amongst this group.
No, doesn't look like it. And there, by the way, is Jeremy Main out front. What a race he is having. Only 12 minutes gone, and he's got a long way to go. But 5 seconds of a lead in just 12 minutes is very, very impressive, and he extended his lead last time round again. Hamann and Wolf were both quicker than him, but they're even further behind at the moment. We've got Binkley there as well. There is Jeremy Main in real life as well as he leads this race.
Yeah, on lap 9 currently for Jeremy Main, so he has been averaging a little bit more than a half a second per lap over the next fastest car. Looking incredibly solid here today, but it's a long race, and we just don't know what's going to happen towards the end of it. We have seen some changes of drivers maybe wearing out their tires, and that was a deep move coming into turn 12 there by Jeremy Main. Thankfully, he'll get away with it as we come back to William Wolf once again. He has caught up to the 247, eyeing a chance to maybe get onto the podium now.
Yeah, maybe. I think he's got a decision to make, really, because an attempt at making a move would also mean losing time, and was giving up on second place here, so really depends. I think, you know, he might be well placed to wait for the next 15 minutes or so, see what happens, and then make a move if it's necessary as more pressing goes off through 3 and 4. And to be honest, I'm surprised not more people have done that in the racing we've seen at this track so far.
I'm with you. It just seems like such an easy mistake to make. I know I've done it plenty of times off into that corner, but he'll be able to just come back on, and didn't hit anything. He runs in 27th currently. For P9 on screen, Long versus Stern. We were watching these two a little bit earlier in the race. Brian with another good run coming out of the chicane onto Holman Avenue. And he's going to show himself in the mirrors just slightly. The 666, though, realizes it's not quite near enough as we hop on board with Andrew looking off the bumper.
There's the view of Brian Stern. He goes, he tried to do the old sort of faster through turn 9 to jam it down the inside at 10, but well, whether he was trying to or not, whether he was just taking a different line, I'm not sure, but no way he was going to manage that, even though that corner does open up quite invitingly, you know, at turn 10 when you have a look down the inside, but wasn't ever going to never going to work without contact, so Brian Stern stays behind. And as you can see, this group is a lot more fractured than when John Calvert was at the front of it. It's got a few more bigger gaps within it, and this is the closest of them. Now 4 seconds off of Casey McDonald, who I guess we can say leads the group, but actually getting closer to Jefferson than anything else.
Actually, let me check the lap times there. 29.3 last time for McDonald. Jefferson 29.5. You're right. He's kind of chopping away at that. Good find himself with that group. He was clearly being held up and making good use of that clean air now that he's got it. As we check back in with Hammond and Wolf. Wolf has not been able to get up to Kevin. And the good news for William is you talked about Jefferson versus McDonald. Josh is about 2.5 seconds behind, so I don't think there's any losing positions if he goes on the attack. But like you said, he could lose more touch with Binkley if he fights too hard, too long with that 247 machine. But, whoa! Or if he does something like that, as Wolf just dipped a tire into the grass out of 10.
That was very close to a spin completely for Hammond. So he just went a bit too wide there on the power, and he's got away with one there, absolutely. He's absolutely got away with one there. Lee Binkley still at the front of this group, but for how much longer, I think, is the question really. Hammond and Wolf surely are going to be through rather soon. On the bottom of your screen, Costas at the front of the latest group. Andrew Long and Brian Stern have caught up to him to resume that battle. Long is very close indeed behind Costas coming onto the front straight. Certainly closer than what's at the top of the screen.
Was that Wolf going wide? It was there on the top in that battle for P3. Meanwhile, we're side by side coming down into turn 1 between Costas and Long. Long is going to get it. Behind them, Brian Stern is now trying to get into the mix as they switch back through 3 down to the braking for 4. But before he can get involved, there's contact. And he is going to sneak by both of them as Costas and Long tangle.
I think Costas could land himself in a bit of trouble for that. Unless Long didn't give him any room on the inside, I think he'll be in trouble. It's always a dangerous dive down the inside at turn 3 and 4 like that, and you are putting yourself at risk. Unfortunately, there was contact, and it hasn't actually gained him any place, because, as you say, Brian Stern just says thanks very much and slipped through on both of them. That's some of the easiest passes he will make tonight.
Did a great job avoiding getting caught up in that. It's so easy, I'm sure, to wind up getting involved. So here's Long. Not sure if we'll be able to tell from this angle if he's chopping him off. No, we won't really. But we will see that third car have to actually go half a car into the grass to try and make his way through. No, it's still hard to tell from there.
Well, it looks to me as if Costas is quite a long way from, well, not quite a long way, but far enough away from the apex to put that on him, unfortunately. I don't think that's a case of Long coming across, but you never know. I suppose we'll see what the stewards decide to say about that. Yes, it was a bit of a late dive and a late move, but you know, if you're going to rule out late moves, then you won't see any passing around here. It all happens quite late, and it all happens, you know, quite on the fly. So I didn't have a problem with the way that was defended from Andrew Long, but yeah, Costas missed the apex there for me. At least that's what it looked like from the air.
Did get another penalty from an unrelated incident. Jeff Gardner given a black flag for an incident on lap 11 with the 74 car. So he'll be heading in. He's towards the back of the pack already. We've been watching this fight for P2. Wolf has made a couple mistakes. That or one really big mistake back there that we did see a bit of, and is already fallen back to about a second and a half behind these two. Instead, it's been Kevin Hammond who's essentially been on a forward charge in this race. He is only up 1 from where he started, but my goodness, we've seen him not be shy in this race. So I'm sure Lee Binkley is trying very hard to keep him out of range.
Yeah, and at the moment, Binkley is continually losing time to Jeremy Main out front, and you just wonder whether, if Hammond got into some clean air, whether he'd be able to run down the race leader or not. You see Randy Lervold going for a spin at turn number 1 a few moments ago. Lervold now down to 14th position in this race as he rejoins this massive group, which is starting to sort of form back together again from 10th place on backwards. Jeff Williams is the latest one to be at the front of it.
Side by side, Corbett and Williams, with Corbett to the outside, and unfortunately doesn't have the drive off the corner. Look at the yellow machine of Jeff Williams just push his way up into 10th. Nicely done. And behind them, everybody is just salivating, hoping these two continue to fight to open the door. I was gonna say, Corbett really did not need to try to go too wide through that chicane. It usually does not end well.
No, certainly not. It's way too tight, that chicane these days, for going side by side, really. It's Corbett now under pressure from Nick Francis, who's half attacking, half defending from John Cabot, because he's around the outside at turn 7. He's not alongside, I don't think, by the time they get into the chicanes, though, and indeed is not. This is by far the biggest group in the race, and at the liveliest as well, as surprisingly Jeremy Main from the lead comes in.
And now Williams is able to get by. I wonder if Corbett had a bit of a slowdown penalty there. So, yeah, and so a couple surprises there. Like you said, Jeremy Main hits shockingly early. I'm not sure what the reasoning is for that call, because now he's going to be stuck in the middle of the pack and could lose a lot of time. We'll continue to watch this battle here for a second to see if something happens down into turn 1, and it does look like it is a great run from Nick Francis, who has an excellent opportunity to overtake Jeff Williams. He's already lost 1 position on this lap. Is it going to be 2 as he does not defend the inside? Francis is deep enough on the brakes, is going to be able to make the apex, but now he's on the outside for 2, and he slots back in behind Williams as we got a penalty for Christopher Costas as well. So I assume that is for the incident we watched a couple times down here into turn 4.
Couple of incidents for Kevin Hamann in the last couple of moments, by the way. He's no longer anywhere near Lee Binkley. In fact, he's behind Joel Bergeron in 6th place suddenly. That's 2 separate incidents, by the way, for us to go back and have a look at, because as we've been commenting, he was right in with Lee Binkley earlier on and is no longer anywhere near that. He'd come out in a battle with Will Wolfe, who I wonder is involved here at all. Oh, that's a long way back. That's a very long way back from the championship leader, who makes contact with Kevin Hamann. And Jefferson goes off to avoid and loses a place to Casey McDonald in the process. I wonder what the stewards are going to say about that one. They agree with me about Costas. I don't know, but I don't know what to think about that one, to be honest. That looks a bit 50-50.
Yeah, it's hard to call, because he braked late, but I think was presented at the apex. I am very curious as well to see who or if anybody is going to get a penalty. Casey McDonald, though, probably a bit shocked that suddenly, after multiple things have happened, he's now suddenly onto the podium. Where did our former leader wind up, actually?
He is all the way down in 25th place after a 28-second pit stop. Something is not right here for the race leader. I just don't know what it is.
You're right. Yeah, that is not a typical length. So I wonder if he made contact somewhere and had to get some repairs.
But with what? I mean, he was nowhere near anybody, as far as I could see, unless it's a lap car.
He could have maybe smacked the wall somewhere. I'm not sure. Yeah, it is a bit of a mystery, but looks like Jeff Williams and Andrew Elsom also heading into pit lane. I think things have calmed down enough that we want to give a quick mention to our sponsor. We're thrilled to have Princess Cruises as the 2025 PCA title sponsor. As the official cruise vacation partner of Series 14, they provide exclusive offers, including world-leading itineraries across a fleet of, get this now, 17 elegant ships, I have been informed, all sailing to more than 330 global destinations. Reach out to the PCA Concierge team to book your next adventure today by calling 833-679-2188. So McDonald will hold on third for the time being. Will he try and go as long, or will we see other drivers who maybe come in a little bit early? Binkley now inherits the lead, and because of that incident that we saw with Hamann, he is up by 4 seconds, and Wolfe has been given a black flag, so he is taking the blame for that contact. That means Binkley's going to be even farther ahead now.
Yeah, I think that's going to be one of those ones where whichever driver is penalised is going to feel hard done by. It's a very, very close call. You know, I can absolutely see it from either point of view, really. Well, maybe not in the point of view of Haman's at fault, because I don't think he overly squeezed Wolf, actually. But, you know, I don't think Wolf was as brazen as Costas was, for example, at turn 4 by any means. That was a much closer call, I think, although two similar incidents at what are similar corners-ish. So, interesting call from race control. You know, Wolf comes in straight away to serve it, don't blame him. But he will be disappointed, I think, to receive that penalty. I think that's a very tough call. And he is, as I say, going to feel hard done by, but in the end, Stewart's decision is final, and it's easy to argue the case for either.
And will that penalty wind up haunting him later on in the season? These championships are usually so competitive that if he has a bad result today, he does have the drop weeks, but it could make life a little bit harder once we get closer to the end of these 7 races. So here's Ankerberg Zahn, who loses control coming out through turn 12. Thankfully was far enough out of the way. Looks like cars are able to avoid.
Well, Evans coming in pit lane very slowly here. You'd say normally as he run out of fuel, but not with 26 minutes gone.
I mean, okay, no, he definitely didn't run out of fuel because we can hear him powered. I mean, sometimes there's the old mistake that we're all guilty of from time to time, and that's putting qualifying fuel in instead of race fuel in. So, but looks like he avoided that. We're just not sure what is going on with the car that he's going so slow. Casey McDonald now promoted to 2nd, by the way.
Yeah, I mean, even then, putting 25 minutes of fuel in for qualifying is slightly odd as well. So anyway,
yeah, that's a good point.
It's sort of in that middle point in the race, isn't it, where it's not quite short enough for it to be qualifying fuel anymore, but it's also not long enough for them to run out of fuel either. So there's really no explanation for that at all. But unfortunately, Evans is now way down the field, although was already worth mentioning. Kevin Hammad, meantime, comes into pit lane. This is probably more scheduled than it was for Main anyway. No pit stops all round from those up front, and that's not surprising from the leaders. Use the clean air while you've got it. Don't put yourself into dirty air like Haman has done, and like Jeremy Main has done, although it sounds like Main's was forced upon him.
Exactly. And, Kevin, let's see where he emerges. Hopefully should give us a little bit of a clearer picture on where the drivers should emerge if they pit from the lead as we check out the battle for 6th place here. Corbett versus Lervold versus Kalbeck. And John just about back to where he started this race, but still a ways to go, I think, considering a few of those drivers are ones who have pitted in front of him. And right now, he's trying to put his best pressure on Randy Lervold as he can as they break down into turn 7. Nobody close enough to make any differences there. All right, so getting close to that halfway mark in the race, and things have been a little bit turned on their head compared to the start, including numerous penalties. I must say, this has been a bit penalty-filled, honestly.
It has a bit. We haven't seen too much of that this season. It's been clean racing for the most part, but I think it is worth noting that, and correct me if I'm wrong, I think this is the biggest field we've seen this season in the sport class. I'm seeing sort of mid-20s in the field, sort of 24, 25 for both the first 2 rounds, but we've got nearly 30 here today on the tightest track so far, which is probably playing a bit of a role as Donald Manning now comes into pit lane. Again, not surprising considering the group he's found himself in. That was where William Wolff was, by the way, fighting his way through traffic, and still is in traffic in 11th.
And he's going to be massively out of position, no doubt. And watch Manning just take to the pit speed limit. It's going to feel like it is creeping along with how fast that main straight is coming off of 14 across the bricks. Back to Lervold once again. Corbett actually starting to run away a little bit from him, putting some distance, about a second over the 614. John has not been able to do anything back here in that 8th position to try and get by that 614 car, at least for the time being. So when will we see John Kalbeck maybe try to bite the bullet and pit a little bit early, since we've already got a couple other drivers doing so? Oh, wait. So we had Jeremy Main at 28.6. Where we had, where's Haman? 22.8. What's
Yeah.
going on?
So, I don't know. Another thing, by the way, is that Wolf didn't pit at all. He drove through the pit lane, of course. So I said earlier.
Well, yeah,
pitted,
because he was
that
serving a
wasn't
penalty.
true. Sorry, yeah, I completely forgot about that. His job's dropped so far, it looks like a pit lane because this pit lane to drive through is just so long. 42 seconds transit time. It's absolute insanity here at this circuit. But anyway, that's why he's dropped down. Sorry, I misspoke earlier and forgot about that penalty. That's why he's in 11th. So yeah, as it stands, Jeremy Main is still the best placed of those who pitted so far. And some weird things are happening with pit stop time. There's not a single two drivers with the same pit stop time other than Jeff Williams and Ankerberg Son. And that's just 2 out of about 8 who've been in. That's really weird.
But there was contact with Hammond and was that Francis? And oh yeah, well there we go. Francis was given a black flag, so I assume that's what that was for.
Francis was picking himself up out the grass after that as well, so might be best blues probably after that running. Now down in 29th, unfortunately, has now served that black flag on pit lane in the last few moments. This is Andrew Elson, who was 29th earlier, locking up down in towards turn 1 and getting it wrong. Saw a bit of vision in practice, by the way, of the guys going a bit deep in towards turn 1 as well. It's just such a difficult and long braking zone.
Yeah, you could see him trying to drive through the grass there. It's certainly going to mess up the tires quite a bit. They do have an escape road that they can try and use to get back onto the circuit. I'm not sure if that has any special penalty that the sim tries to apply, though, if it makes you give back a lot of time for trying to go through there or not. As we once again come back to Lervold, Corbett, and Kalbeck with 27 minutes left to go. And again, everybody a little bit too far apart coming into turn 1. Now, they are coming up on what looks to be lap traffic. That's Ankerberg Zone just in front of them. And this could spice things up for some of those drivers in back of this group.
Yeah, Ankerberg's on basically a lap down because he's pitted. That's how short this circuit is. Does make traffic a real ordeal around here, and the same will be the case in 2 weeks' time at Laguna Seca as well. And it's not only lap traffic, but positional traffic for William Wolf, who's just got to try and rescue a good finish here. Sheldon Zahirachuk will defend on the way towards turn 7, or indeed just pull over, in fact, and let Wolf through. He's going to use this as his drop round, but it's about creating that safety net for himself, if he can at all. He can't afford to have a terrible round, because then all the rounds going on will count, and that could be dangerous if he gets caught up in something. So he's got to rescue whatever he can from this result here today, even if he knows he'll be championship leader, even if he finishes last.
There is definite reason to continue to push, even if it's not going to be a good result, because your best worst finish, or having the best worst finish, can still give you quite a bit of an advantage. By the way, I was wrong, apologies, with Kevin Hammond in that incident that we saw. That was not a black flag, I think, from that incident for Francis, because Kevin has now been given that one. Another of our front runners, or at least former front runner, finding themselves in trouble with the stewards. Lee Binkley, thankfully, has not been amongst them so far. He continues to lead, and it's now 6.5 seconds over Casey McDonald.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a very good lead indeed. Ken Tubman going for the spin at turn 12, by the way. Should rejoin without too much trouble, but there's Casey McDonald. Well, I don't think Binkley is going to have to particularly worry about these guys, to be honest. I think he'd be more worried about Jeremy Main. I mean, I'm not counting him out at the moment, Jeremy Main. He's clearly got very good speed. He was only a tenth slower than Binkley last time round. He'll be in a heavier car at the moment. And despite that really long stop, he did have quite a big lead before then. And he's not been involved in any incidents. Despite the fact he's come out a long way down, he's not really been in any traffic. He's got 12 seconds of a gap in front of him as well. So he's still not terribly placed, although Binkley probably is the race leader.
Yeah, I think it'll take quite a bit for him to get back up to a potential win, but I wouldn't bet against anything the way today is going. It was about 5 or 6 seconds, I believe, the gap over Lee Binkley when he got his or when he came into pit lane for this mysterious call, and he lost, if it's about, we're seeing between 9 and 12 seconds in a lot of the pit stops regularly here. So that's going to be probably about 18 seconds, 16 seconds lost potentially. So if he can make up 16 seconds, he could get back to the lead. I guess that would work out to somewhere around 10 seconds that he would have to make up on Binkley.
Yeah, I think, you know, he made up, or he had a head start of about half of that when he came in for the first time. So got to remember that he wasn't defending his lead. He was very much out front by a long way. And Joe Bergeron, who just gets out now, is going to be a very good indicator indeed. He just gets out in front of Ward Preston for 16th place it is at the moment. Actually side by side with Preston, he just gets past him. Main 6.5 seconds behind Joe Bergeron, who was 4th, I think, as Torrigiani goes for a spin through turn 1. I think he was 4th, so that would mean Main's about 5th, I guess, at the moment, because he's not going to get ahead of McDonald, Jefferson or Binkley the way it stands.
That sounds about right to me. And we watch from Andrew Long now sitting in 8th spot. John Kalbick just in front of him in the number 84 has had probably more adventures than he would have wanted. Both he and Lervold take a look to the inside. Long says, you know what, this is probably a good chance at 23 minutes to go to pit in, as we saw a little bit of what looked like smoke in the background down at 12. Not sure what that was involved with.
No, I'm not sure either. It was a lap car though, because the next car in line for position is William Wolf, and it definitely wasn't him. So it was a lap car as Andrew Long pulls into pit lane. Surprised that not more from this part of the field are doing it now, because, as you say, there's only 23 minutes left. They can't have that much fuel left on board, and you won't want to follow the guy in front of you right into pit lane. Look, I kept harping on about this in the Pro Class last week, but nobody listened to me, and they were right not to as well, because it wasn't a particularly advantageous thing to do. But looks like we're seeing a similar thing like that develop in the Sport Class here tonight as well.
Well, we had an interesting one in the club race. We had a driver go, I think it was down to something like 8 minutes left to go. It was incredibly long. I think it was probably about 3 laps longer than anybody else on the track was able to go. And I'm not sure if it's a viable strategy to try to stretch it out that much, but it certainly impressed us. We'll see how far drivers will be able to make it today, with it being into the final third in just a moment. In the meantime, John's still stuck behind other cars here. No, excuse me, that's not John Kalbach we're watching. That was Kavanaugh, excuse me, that we've got on screen chasing on Souza.
Yep. Yeah, Marcus Souza now in the top 10 actually, with the stops that are happening around. And just up in front, by the way, Sheldon Zaharachuk is just one of those 2 cars in front. There is also a lap car in here as well. So again, lap traffic is playing a big role here. There's Zaharachuk with a bit of an advantage because of that lap car, just providing him with a little bit of a buffer in the background. That's Ankerberg's son again, who is just in the middle of this right now. Not getting in the way as things stand, but he's definitely in the middle of this group. As Ron Evans is assaulted by Nick Francis into turn 7.
That's perhaps the most apt description I could give it as well. That was out of nowhere as that car barged in. At least from that angle, it appeared the 55 was not taking no for an answer. Back to the battle for P9. Zaharachuk actually running away from Souza with a good couple first corners and getting himself well out of reach. Kavanaugh still having to overtake the car between them if he wants to try and get that spot from the 704. So, while we've got the opportunity, and it seems like the cars have separated a bit, I want to give another mention to one of our sponsors. We're thrilled to have Princess Cruises as the 2025 PCA title sponsor. And as the official cruise vacation partner of Series 14, they provide exclusive offers, including world-leading itineraries across a fleet of 17 elegant ships sailing to more than 330 global destinations. Reach out to the PCA concierge team to book your next adventure today by calling 833-679-2188. So who is going to be the next to blink for pit stops? Bergeron still is our highest driver to have pitted, and he sits in 15th with quite a bit of clear air, I might add, as well in front of him. So he's sitting relatively pretty right now. Not sure if those in front would have the same nicety.
No, it's unlikely. 20 minutes to go. The gap between McDonald and Jefferson has seemingly got a bit bigger. And Joel Bergeron is still the highest driver in the field who has pitted, but Main is catching him. Less than 5 seconds now, the gap between Main and Bergeron, but I think the time that Main has lost in the pit lane is just going to be too much in the end. I don't want him to get a podium because I want to ask him what happened, but it's not like we're going to be able to find out. There was no incidents reported from Jeremy Main, so it's still a real mystery what he's actually managed to do. I wonder if he accidentally took tyres or something. It seems about the right amount of time for that to have happened.
Yeah, that could be the answer. It still doesn't explain why he came in as early as he did.
No.
But that seems a more likely explanation, at least, as to why the time was so long. As Ron Evans spins down into turn 1, thankfully he's out of the way and is eventually able to get going. Nick Francis, for that punt that we saw on the replay, unsurprisingly, has garnered another black flag. I believe that's black flag number 2 for Francis in this race. So he's definitely not sitting very well with the stewards after this one. But back to on-screen action down through 1 and 2. And Daniel Corbett has been doing, I have to say, a very good job on the defense in this race. He's not allowed Lervold to get close enough.
Yeah, just look at the offensive driving he's been doing as well throughout the day. Clearly up 13 places into 5th position ahead of Lervold and everybody else. I know this is a slightly false position because of the pit stops that are going on at the moment, but what a fantastic drive it's been from Daniel Corbett so far. On our screens quite a lot, which is not always a good sign, but always defending and doing the right thing on our screens when he has been. So it's been a good job from him so far, and now he's defending from Randy Lervold and John Calbeck in 6th and 7th. You imagine this will go on to the pit stops, which can't be far away now, although if you say that 6 days ago in the club class we saw someone go for another 10 minutes, maybe we need to settle in for a bit longer.
It could be. I'm sure the extra lap time required out here does save a little bit of the fuel, no doubt. Drivers lacking grip. As we wait for the drivers to pit in at this stage, it is still Bergeron, our highest pitter, but Jeremy Main is now past Ward Preston. He has about 5 seconds to catch up to Joel Bergeron. And let me see what the pace difference looks like between them. Joel with a 29.8, whereas Main has a 29.7. So they're actually pretty close on pace.
Yep. Yeah, pretty close for the moment. Main is definitely still in a false position as he gets past Ken Tubman. He's been overtaking quite a few drivers who are not actually, and there he goes, just properly through now. Not actually on his strategy, which must be a bit frustrating. He's now just over 5 seconds behind Bergeron. He might just have enough time to get in the race until he might just have enough time in the race to get to Bergeron, I should say, but probably no more than that. Time will run out before he gets there. So we'll just see when those final pit stops are and when the field will become properly clear, because at the moment we're still not quite sure where Binkley, McDonald and Jefferson will be, although we're pretty sure it will be ahead of 07 and 555 respectively.
Most likely it is something of a holding pattern at this stage, because we're expecting pit stops soon, just not sure who's going to go for when amongst this group. Binkley, there is your leader, and who we believe should be leader after the pit stops are over. Back with Ken Tubman in the 27, and quite a little battle, and fortunately a battle that results in some contact.
Now, was that a lapped car that was involved? Looked a bit like it to me, but I won't guess who it was. But
I believe that was
like a battle for position based on. Yeah. Well, yeah. I guess if that happened quite a few laps ago, then yeah, it may have been for position at the time, and hence why we just saw Main get past him a few laps later. But pretty awkward contact into the front of the corner, and there's Zaharchuk going deep in towards turn 1 as well. And again, what is it with these lot taking this line? Oh dear, don't rejoin like that. That's straight onto the circuit. I mean, he's made a T-junction out of the first chicane there. I mean, you're not supposed to do that. And there must be, as you said, Joe, a minute ago, a weird slowdown, because that is a strange thing for two people to do.
Yeah, and that's kind of what makes me suspect that, I think that was Mike Sachs that had to take avoiding action. And I believe you can get a penalty for an unsafe rejoin in this series, if I recall correctly. So they do have to watch out for how they're coming back onto the track, and what can be a difficult corner to avoid cars turning into there if you're not expecting someone to suddenly pop in front of you that way. So Lervold versus Corbett. And Randy's going to show his nose coming down into turn 1. In fact, he's going to try and take that apex away as he breaks deeper. Unfortunately, he forces Corbett off. And John Kalbick says, "You boys have fun. I will take 5th."
He said take the apex away. Unfortunately, he took the whole track away from both himself and his rival there, did Randy Lervold. And he might well get himself in trouble for that, as that car gets out of the way in a strange way. Just have a look at this down towards turn 1. You've got to be brave on the brakes of this circuit to make moves work, but he's weaving around all over the place. He's unsighted from his braking marker. He's trying to brake later anyway. He misses the apex. He misses the corner completely, and he does actually let Corbett back through again into turn 7 in live pictures. So we'll see whether he gets away without a penalty or not, but he properly took him off the circuit there.
Considering Corbett still lost the spot, I have a feeling him giving the spot back is not going to be enough to avoid another black flag being held aloft at the flag stand. And Daniel, definitely an innocent victim on that one. He gave plenty of room and still found himself forced off the circuit. 13 minutes to go now left on the clock. Bergeron still the highest driver to have pitted. Not that great of a shock that Corbett has decided now's a good time to come in case he's got any damage.
Yeah, probably a good idea. And he can get himself away from Lervold, as it turns out. Oh, no, he can't. He's followed him in. Never mind.
It was good in theory.
It's difficult when you're the one leading on. You want him not to follow you, but he just does. So, anyway. Corbett will have to deal with Randy Lervold for a bit longer. Mike Sachs joins him in pit lane as well. We'll see where Brian Stern comes out in relation to the likes of Bergeron and Main, by the way, because he was sort of the highest driver up behind Bergeron. I think he was 5th at the time, but as I said earlier, I think Main will take that away from him. Stern's already going, but no, Main gets past him quite comfortably. So it is a top 5 at least for Jeremy Main at the moment, and chasing 4th with Bergeron.
Not too bad considering, but definitely could have been a lot more. Most likely,
oh no,
a win.
Lervold's back in front of Corbett again.
He jumped him in the pit stop, did he? Interesting.
He did, yeah.
And that, yeah, okay, so he's about a second quicker, so that does explain that. Well, the fight continues on. In the meantime, is that Binkley? I think that is indeed Binkley in pit lane. Our leader is in. McDonald carries on for the final 10 minutes. We'll see how long he decides to go. Kalbick is also in. Jeppesen pits. And it looks like, is William Wolf going to join as well? Yes, he is.
I think we're starting to see the limit now, aren't we, really? McDonald maybe has saved a lap compared to the rest of the field, because we're seeing pit stops everywhere now. Jeppesen doesn't even pull to a stop before Binkley's on his way again. That's a very short stop indeed. 9.8 seconds in pit lane, and is a long way ahead of anybody else who is pitted in this race. He's controlling this one now very nicely, is Binkley. It looks like he's on his way for only his first podium and maybe first win as well of the season.
And to give an idea of the damage of that long stop for Jeremy Main, Lee Binkley out on track. He returned to turn 1 out of the pits right about the time Main was coming off of turn 14. So yeah, that one hurt. And it's another lap around for Casey McDonald. So he's going to play the role of the very light right foot out here in event number 3.
And he's actually going to put a lap on William Wolf if his pit stop goes on for too much longer. Wolf is just going to escape that dishonour, it looks like. Wolf will be outside. Quite. Oh, no, he is a lap down. Wow. It will only be temporary, of course, because McDonald still has to stop, but that's something you don't see very often Will Wolf down a lap, and first 2 race wins under his belt, but now a lap down in the 3rd race. He is legitimately, though, outside of the top 10, and he's got just 10 minutes to rescue that position from Daniel Corbett, of all people. Maybe Lovell to get a penalty, and he'll get it anyway, but if he wants to do it on the circuit, he's got a few seconds to catch there.
It's a good point that we might still be seeing some penalties coming our way, since we have seen a couple other little bits of contact out there. The interesting thing about all these penalties that we've been getting is that we did have 2 incidents I didn't report that were considered no fault, that they didn't penalize anybody, which is actually a little bit rare in this series. It's not as often that they'll come away with that decision, but obviously can happen. As McDonald back down in a turn 12 once again. Is this it for the pit lane? And yes, it is.
It's got to be, hasn't it, really? 51 minutes is quite impressive in itself. But it's this is live, thank goodness. I thought it was in a replay of him spin. He's going to keep his lead quite nicely, it looks like, over McDonald, who should slot right into 2nd position. But yeah, it's great in this series, isn't it, that we've just extended the fuel window a little bit compared to what we have had in some seasons gone past. Really enjoyed the really wide pit window, even though everybody seems to run quite long. That technically you could pit with about 45 minutes to go and with 9 minutes to go and make it to the end on just 1 stop with a similar pit stop time. It's fascinating to me, and a good way to open up the strategy in a race that otherwise wouldn't have any unless we impose these restrictions.
Exactly. And yeah, I do love opening up options to kind of give us maybe more drivers trying to shake things up throughout. And Binkley now re-inherits the lead, and McDonald's, his pit stop was pretty good. It's about a 1.5 seconds quicker, so he's going to gain a little bit of time, but that's just not enough because Binkley was so far ahead. And with that, I believe we have pretty much everybody having taken their scheduled pit stop. So looking through to see who has gained the most places, I'm going to say Mike Satz at 15 gained. And why is that important? Well, when the sun is relentless, your sunscreen should be too. Mo Hansom's new sport sunscreen spray is now available. It's SPF 30, broad spectrum, and reef safe. Plus, this spray is water resistant for up to 80 minutes. It's even TSA travel size and made in the USA. This protecting spray is perfect for 120-degree Indy track surfaces. And to prove it, tonight's driver who is the highest climber during the race will receive a 2-pack of Mo Hansom's sports sunscreen spray. Learn more at their Instagram at Mo Hansom Skin and at their website, mohansom.com/sunscreen. Mike Sachs, if he can bring it home where things sit, he is well above anybody else. Next closest is Peter Yerxa at 10 gain spots. So, yeah, Mike just has to be nice and considerate and get the checkered flag.
And he's even got the chance for 1 more place if he wants to risk it all as well. He's not far behind Marcus Souza for 12th place. So, might even see 1 more pass before the end from him. But Lee Binkley, sporting the Mo Hansom livery, is currently leading the race overall as well. I'm sure he'll be very pleased with that. As I mentioned, he's not been on the podium yet this season. He's finished 5th in race 1 and 6th in race 2. So this is going to put him straight up the standings, although Will Wolf will still lead those standings. And Joshua Jefferson will still be 2nd, I think, because it's 2 second places that will count for him, along with the 2 wins that will start to count for Wolf. So looking very uniform across the front of the championship. But this is what happens in PCA to begin with in the season. We applied the drop week from week 1 just to make things a little bit easier in terms of not forgetting about it. But it does mean after round 3 or so, the standings can look a little bit odd. But they'll sort themselves out as they go on.
And honestly, that's why I prefer a series that don't calculate it until a little later in the season. Not too late, but yeah, it just gets wonky here at the beginning sometimes. But in the meantime, the 0-2 just with a healthy gap over Casey McDonald after his pit stop. And only 5 minutes left to go. We're probably only going to see about 3 or 4 laps to wrap this one up. Josh Jeppesen as well. Got to give him credit. Started 3rd, still sitting in 3rd. A little bit of no man's land here. You can see he doesn't even have many in the way of lapped cars around him at this stage. But sometimes those quiet races to collect a good result are all that you can ask for.
Yeah, it's absolutely. And he's had 3 of those now, I think, by my reckoning, Jefferson. Maybe you disagree with the quiet part of it, but he certainly had 3 good races, 3 podiums to begin a season in a new division, as it were. The Porsche Club of America Sim Racing Series is just fantastic, and he's not even that far away from second place here. I wonder if he'll make a late charge for that in the last 5 minutes. But what a great start to the season. He's right there in this championship alongside Will Wolf. He'll only be 60 points behind after 3 rounds. Very, very impressive indeed. 3 podiums on the bounce as well. The only driver, by the way, to have been on the podium all 3 times this season. If this holds, that's an extraordinary start. I say it every week, but extraordinary start to a new division for Jefferson, who might be promoted 2 seasons in a row. We'll see.
I'm very curious what the stats are on how many drivers have managed to do that. I'm sure we'll get some of the behind-the-scenes folks at PCA maybe digging into that, see who has managed to gone back-to-back promotions and different classes. Back to 13th here, Mike Sachs. You're talking about catching up to Souza. I think the reverse has happened. Looks like Jeff Williams is suddenly putting a little bit of pressure on.
Yeah, Sachs, as we said earlier, just needs to not get caught up in any incidents, and he will be our highest climber for the day. But Yerkes is not that far behind, and if he takes some places as well, it could get quite close. But I wouldn't imagine so. I think Sachs will keep it sensible here in the last 3.5 minutes. Needs to get off to a good result here, really. I don't see any results yet for Mike Sachs, so it feels like he has been here, but I don't see any results in the sport class. So he's just getting his season off the mark, and I think this would be a solid game for him, considering he started, of course, right down the back. That's why he's our highest climber, and he's only 13th. He started so far down the field, of course.
Yeah, I'm kind of with you. I thought for sure that he was in there, but a Control F searching for Mike is not turning up any results. So it doesn't look like he's raced yet here in Series 14. In the meantime, behind him, you talked about Yerkes maybe getting positions. Zaharchuk and Kavanaugh are right in front of Peter in that 54. So, yeah, if those two tangle, or if simply Peter has enough pace that he could overtake, he could be a threat for that highest climber, because Sachs just got passed by Williams. Or, actually, no, Sachs, Williams made a mistake. That's what happened. Williams was off.
Yeah, I wonder whether it's one of those where he dived down the inside too hard and got ahead briefly, but got repassed again. And that should see Mike Sachs to the end now. But there's our weekly look-in with Paul Kavanagh. Still got a Porsche behind him.
A different
Still racing
Porsche,
in the same
though.
place. I was going to say, I'm not going crazy, unless he's resprayed it. Maybe it's different.
Yeah. If I recall, that was a pretty nice yellow paint scheme, though. I don't know why he would change it, especially since he continues to run this nice yellow car in the sim as well. But the 22 with Zaharchuk just behind him at this stage. Also not far behind Jeff Williams. So 14th, 15th, 16th, 17th. We go back to 18th. My goodness, this is quite a train.
Yeah. Trading Paints hasn't loaded, by the way. That's why his car in real life has gone black and it's not yellow like it was before.
I love that
the
excuse.
That's literally the. But I'm so glad I had that thought in my head and I didn't say it out loud, because I look at so many cars that are not real that I actually think that some of these iRacing things start to apply in real life. I'm losing my mind. I nearly said that out loud for real. Anyway,
it could be worse. I was at a race in Watkins Glen for Sprint Challenge, and I was about to say even in real life at one point, and then I had to stop myself, and I said I've been doing too many sim races. Anyways, as we watch Sachs here, even though he's gotten past or was briefly passed by Williams, he now has a good chance to get by Marco Souza, and Souza's going to chop him off coming down to the apex of turn 7. He's going to make him work for it. We're coming to 1 lap to go, 2 laps to go for these cars once they cross the line, but Binkley is, oh, actually, no, this is going to be one to go for them because I think Binkley is on the last lap.
I think he is. He's not going to get to the line in the next 10 seconds or so, so I think we are indeed on the final lap. And Jefferson seems to have dropped quite a long way behind McDonald. I wonder whether those two came to blows or whether it was Jefferson on his own or what happened back there. But the gap at nearly 9 seconds now. Lee Binkley, though, is just controlling this race. And ever since Jeremy Main had that early and very strange pit stop, he's been controlling this race, really. Hasn't had to fight too hard, and he's just inherited the lead, and he's not looked back since then.
Say you make your own luck, and yeah, he put himself in the right position, and while there were things that were out of his control that happened in this race, the things he could control, he made excellent use of. Lee Binkley with a commandeering win in the O2 as he takes victory at the Brickyard. Nice second place there for McDonald behind him. And like you said, Jefferson a little ways back, but it will still be a third podium in Series 14, showing that he is going to be one to watch out for with some deadly consistency.
Yeah, really good consistency. And, you know, I was talking about that earlier. It seems that he has made a mistake late on in this race, but I think that might be the first one he's made all season. It's been pretty extraordinary, really. 3 podiums for him so far this season, 2 for Casey McDonald now. This is his best result of the season so far with a second, and he missed Watkins Glen, so that's 2 in 2 technically for him. And Lee Binkley's first podium of the season is a race victory as well, so different stories all across the podium. John Cowbeck doesn't quite get to Andrew Long in the end. Spent a long time in 8th place in this race, rather bizarre position to stay in for so long, but that's where he finishes.
And William Wolf is only going to get a top 10 after he went back-to-back victories. That's going to be disappointment for him. But we're going to see 19 of our 30 starters actually finish on the lead lap as Souza weaves across the line just to ensure that he's not overtaken by Sachs, who will get the highest climber there in the 599 car. So 15 positions gained. Well done by Mike Sachs. And last couple cars across is going to wrap us up of our race coverage, but we're not done yet. We'll have our interviews in a moment. For now, here are your unofficial results. Lee Binkley, your victor over Casey McDonald, who finishes P2, and Josh Jefferson, the last step on the podium. Joel Bergeron is going to be 4th, as Jeremy Main will be P5. Then it is Brian Stern in 6, Andrew Long in 7, but John Cowbeck falling back a little bit early, only able to collect 8th. Randy Lervold P9, and William Wolf rounds out your top 10. Daniel Corbett in all kinds of fun in this race. He'll finish 11th. Marco Souza 12th. Mike Sachs, the highest climber, in 13th, up from the 28th position at the start. And it was Jeff Williams in 14th. Sheldon Zaharachuk in 15th, and Kevin Haman, unfortunately, another one throwing away what could have been a better result in 16th. Paul Cavanaugh was P17, Peter Yerkes 18th, and Christopher Costas 19th. On last one on the lead lap, Donald Manning then will be a lap down in the 20th position. Ken Tubman was behind him in 21st, Alan Hales in 22nd, and Ward Preston 23rd, Andrew Elsom P24. Quarter century mark will go to Jeff Gardner today, as Ankerberg's zone was the last one. 1 lap down. Nick Francis 2 laps down with multiple penalties, unfortunately. In 27th, Patricio Torres-Gianni. In 28th, Ron Evans 29th. And the only DNF we had today was George Poulos in the 192 car. Believe we've got Lee Binkley ready to talk with us. And Lee, we were talking about, as you were coming to the finish, sometimes drivers have to make their own luck. And while you did have Jeremy Main have a mysteriously long pit stop, you did everything right out there to pick it up.
Yeah, thank you. I wasn't sure what happened to Jeremy. It was probably his race to win, and I was just trying to focus on staying in my position second, and I saw him drop down the board, and I wasn't sure what happened.
Yeah, we're still not even sure, to be honest. Just know that his pit stop went a bit strangely long for him, and he pitted extremely early. You went a lot later, and that's been a bit of a talking point in these Indianapolis rounds as to whether it is worthwhile to try and pit early. Because you were leading, did you decide, let's just try and run it dry?
Pretty much so. I was concerned about coming out in traffic, but I wasn't sure how that was going to end up. And I'll have to give a shout out to everybody out here tonight. All the cars were very gentleman and generous and giving you plenty of room, so it worked out for me.
Obviously, a pretty big jump up in results here to the victory. What's this do for your championship hopes? Were the two first results kind of putting that out of mind, or do you think there's something to this?
No, I just keep pushing every week, and certainly wanted to finish better than I did. I'm trying to focus on the big picture there and just drive, stay out of trouble and try to get good, consistent finishes. So hopefully we can have something for the championship.
Well, best of luck on that today. Really showed, I think, that you've got it in you. Congratulations.
Thank you. I'd like to thank Doug Axton and the administration. Thank Princess Cruises for sponsoring the league, the series. Shout out to Mo Handsome and Dean Chapman for helping me out, and shout out to my grandchildren, Harper, Corbin, and Elliot. And thanks a lot.
That was Lee Binkley, your winner here today. I believe that Ewan has caught up with our second place finisher, Casey McDonald.
Absolutely. We can now bring him in. Casey, welcome in. Good to have you with us, and congratulations on second place tonight. That's 2 started and 2 podiums in the first 2 rounds, but the action rather came at the start, it felt, for you and the front guys. Just tell us about those early laps as a front 6 broke away and you were part of a big battle there.
It was just, I was just trying to hang on. I'm just, wow. I mean, these guys were quick and I wasn't with them. And I just, good, clean living got me through this to this point tonight is all I can say.
I guess
you got me?
It's the key. Sorry, go on. Go ahead.
Oh yeah, did you? I was just making sure you heard me. Yeah, it's just I just got through clean, and things happened in front of me that got me up there, and I'm just amazed. Thanks to PCA, Sims, all the ICs and admins, and the work they've done with me, and then Princess Cruise Lines, and then the biggest shout out to Last 10th Coaching with Nikki. I wouldn't be here without that. It's incredible.
And what's the outlook for the rest of the season look like for you? Because, as I say, we already saw you absent from Watkins Glen, but of the races you have been at, there's 2 podiums in a row now. Can you continue this on? What are you aiming to achieve anyway?
I want to keep it going. I love talking to you. It's at the end of the race. So, yeah, I'd love to, but Laguna is going to be tough. It's a tough track for me. And there's some quick guys out here right now. So I just got to put the work in.
Thanks for joining us again. And hopefully we'll chat to you again in another couple of weeks at Laguna Seca.
Yeah, I'd like to.
Congrats on tonight, and thanks for chatting to us.
Thank you so much.
Thanks very much. That's Casey McDonald's second place. Perhaps our glowingest review yet.
Well, we'll see if Josh Jeppesen is glowing after this one. He finished third today, and Josh, you second, third. You're the only driver now that has finished on the podium in all races in Series 14. I mean, how are you feeling about that? Knowing that you're being this consistent.
I think tonight was a little bit of luck, other misfortune by other people that took pits early. I guess I was just trying to drive clean, and I kind of let those guys pass me early on in the race because I didn't really want to get involved in any dives or anything, just to stay clean, and it paid off. So I'm definitely happy.
Well, we saw a lot of those dives, and many of them appeared to be something of just simply outbraking themselves, and that garnered a lot of penalties. Are the cars particularly difficult in this heat to get slowed down?
I don't personally think so, but I'm not being like super aggressive in the corners and trying to, because I've done that before and it doesn't pay off. I mean, somebody's going to crash out for sure. I mean, if you make it, you're still going to hit the person on the outside. So I just stay out of it.
So you've got the hat trick. Can you make it 4 for 4 at Laguna Seca?
Still practicing tomorrow.
All right, that's what we like to hear. Got 2 weeks to get good enough. That was Josh Jeppesen, your third place finisher.
Thank you.
All right, so I think that's going to wrap us up for today. And as we mentioned just now, our next race is taking us across the country over to Laguna Seca to a classic. That'll be October 22nd that we will see the sport class take to the track. We have one more to go here in the Midwest, so make sure and join us tomorrow night, October 9th, for the challenge class at Indianapolis. Big thank you goes out to the steering committee at PCA Sim Racing, as well as our team tonight, Ramiro and Ewan. Thank you as well so much for watching. In the meantime, I'm Joe Peak, and until next time, race clean, race hard. We'll see you on the track.